Remember how just a couple of months ago, Donald Trump marched a bunch of National Guardsmen into Los Angeles for absolutely no reason and didn't really accomplish much, but kind of set a precedent that the administration is willing to do this at any point in time? Guess what he's done now?
Back in this country, the Trump administration is now using hundreds of federal officers to patrol the streets of Washington, D.C., as President Trump argues they are needed there to fight crime. Local officials, meanwhile, say crime is already falling. Scott McFarland's in Washington for us once again. Scott, good morning.
Hey, Tony, good morning. Washington, D.C. has a police force of nearly 4,000 officers. But at the White House's direction over the weekend, those officers were joined by Secret Service, FBI, and U.S. Park Police on the streets.
Yay.
The president has long called Washington.
So yeah, no, we have deployed military to the streets of the nation's capital in like an unambiguously fascistic show of power. You know, you had National Guardsmen deployed to Los Angeles ostensibly to protect ICE while ICE, you know, ran around sat in their thumbs. Now we've got this. Not officially, technically martial law, but we know why this is being done.
Graffiti-filled and dangerous, but his
mic is too quiet. Well, if I get too loud, it echoes in here, okay? I'm working on it. Here, I'll bump up the mic a little bit. There we go. Bumping up the mic, bump it down to video.
Rhetoric escalated over the past few days after the alleged assault of a young staffer with the Doge office, the office once run by Elon Musk. The White House says approximately 450 federal agents were deployed over the weekend, and a spokesperson tells CBS News that includes agents with the Washington field office of the FBI.
That's great.
I've been up here a lot. I've never seen a crowd like this. I think we need a ballroom, and that's happening. It's going to be a beautiful ballroom. This is really a lot of people, most I've ever seen in this room. And we're here for a very serious purpose, serious purpose. Something's out of control, but we're going to put it in control very quickly like we did on the southern border. I'm announcing a historic action to rescue our nation's capital from crime, bloodshed, bedlam, and squalor, and worse. This is Liberation Day in D.C., and we're going to take our capital back. We're taking it back. Under the authorities vested in me as the President of the United States, I'm officially invoking Section 740 of the District of Columbia Home Rule Act. You know what that is? And placing the D.C. Metropolitan Police Department under direct federal control, and you'll be meeting the people that will be directly involved with that.
It's so stupid. It's so stupid. It's over nothing. The Reichstag moment for this incident was the what was it? Assault and attempted carjacking of the Doge member Big Balls. That's the moniker this person goes by. So there you go. Edward Big Balls Corstein attacked in D.C. So the Big Balls got kicked. And now we're that was our Reichstag moment, and now we are deploying the military to Washington, D.C. Why do we live in the stupidest timeline? I don't know, man. It's a humiliation ritual, right? I mean, the goal, you aren't just demoralized because of the fascism, you're demoralized because the fascism is so Reddit and embarrassing. It helps, it really does. It makes it difficult to protest against. Anyway, in the same press conference where Donald Trump talked about the need to take D.C. back, the FBI went up there and said that D.C. was actually at its lowest crime level in quite a long time, which is true. So, you know, not even consistent messaging coming out of the administration. The full press conference goes on for quite some time, but let's get a couple of snippets. My understanding is that the police at D.C. have been placed under the direct control of Carolyn Levitt, correct? Just flatly, directly under the control of the DOJ. Am I correct in that? Bondi. Sorry, not Carolyn Levitt. Yeah, no. Bondi. Yeah, DOJ. Bondi.
I've been up here a lot. I've never seen a crowd like this.
Yeah, we saw that part.
And the number of carjackings has more than tripled. Murders in 2023 reached the highest rate probably ever. They say 25 years, but they don't know what that means because it just goes back 25 years. Can't be worse. Our capital city has been overtaken by violent gangs and bloodthirsty criminals, roving mobs of wild youth, drugged out maniacs and homeless people. And we're not going to let it happen anymore. We're not going to take it. And just like we did on our southern border, nobody comes through our southern border anymore. 3 months in a row, we had zero. I don't know if that's right, but the people that do the work, it's a very liberal group of people, actually, and they actually said zero for the last 3 months. Nobody thought a thing like that was possible. And, you know, when you say take a look at numbers, I just saw some charts. These are different cities throughout the world. Red is... Okay, the red is a place called Washington, D.C. Look at these. Baghdad is, we doubled up on Baghdad. Panama City.
What?
Brasilia, San Jose, Costa Rica, Bogota, Colombia, heavy drugs.
What?
Mexico City, I mentioned, Lima, Peru. All double and triple what they are. So do you want to live in places like that? I don't think so. I don't think so. And I think the people in this room, if you wrote correctly, you'd see, look at the kind of numbers we have. D.C., 41 per 100.
It's crazy that we live in a country where 80 million people can look at this and go, yep, that's our sane, competent president. Everything's working as it should. Like just on a purely vibes basis, not even analyzing the data or engaging with the underlying statistics or whatever. You can just look at this and go, oh no, yeah, that's fine. This is fine. This is normal. This is how it's supposed to be.
1,000, number one that we can find anywhere in the world. Other cities are pretty bad, but they're not as bad as that. Is that where you want to live? The reporters of the world? Juvenile offenders and crimes against persons, as they say. It's getting worse. Not getting better, it's getting worse. And we had a recent...
Again, this same press conference, Patel brags about the low crime rate in D.C.
Indication. There was a story about a man who was... just left.
Jesus Christ, man. Here's what the White House is passing out to reporters ahead of Donald Trump's press conference today. And it's just printouts from his Truth Social. Washington, D.C. will be liberated today. Crime, savagery, filth, and scum will disappear. I will, comma, make our capital great again. The days of ruthlessly killing or hurting innocent people are over. I quickly fixed the border. 0 illegals in the last 3 months. D.C. is next. Thank you for your attention to this matter. It's like smiling friends dialogue. I don't know how else to put it. Like, it's so stupid and jilted that it doesn't even sound like it's attempting to, like, it doesn't sound like it's trying to be real. And here we have, like, poll posting, I guess. Criminals removed from D.C. streets this weekend. Arrested for possession of a controlled substance. Okay. Arrested for carrying a pistol without license. The firearm was recovered. Damn, you'd think Republicans would be in favor of that. I see a pattern here. Don't race bait. There's no pattern here. Arrested at 3752 Hayes Street Northeast for driving under the influence. So they didn't even... They literally just got DC Metropolitan Police Department to, like, give them the most recent arrest, didn't they? Like, they didn't even prepare. They weren't even like, oh yeah, here's some guys who've been arrested for Moida recently. They were like, no. Just give us the last, like, I don't know, 5 people to get arrested. Yeah, okay, we got a DUI. We got a guy who had some hashish on him or whatever. And this person had an unlicensed firearm. Okay, sure. Yeah, roll it. Whatever. So, yeah, just last night's arrest. Whatever. Doesn't matter.
Quit because he was asked to do phony numbers on crime. And we're going to look into that. I think Pam is going to be looking into that. But he was asked by the city, I guess, that we don't want to show the real numbers. Let me do numbers so it looks like it's going down. Not going down. And under Biden, it was a disaster. And nobody did anything about it. We're going to do things about it like you wouldn't believe. Every American has a constitutional right to be able to access and petition their government in safety, and countless federal officials and employees likewise have the right to carry out their jobs in peace without being shot. As you know, I lost a very good person a while ago, was shot waiting for his wife. He was in the car. They robbed his car. They shot him. They killed him like it was nothing to it. She was walking to the car. It's a horror show. This issue directly impacts the functioning of the federal government and is a threat to America, really. It's a threat to our country. We have other cities also that are bad, very bad. You look at Chicago, how bad it is. You look at Los Angeles, how bad it is. And we have other cities that are very bad. New York has a problem. And then you have, of course, Baltimore and Oakland. We don't even mention that anymore. They're so far gone.
Interesting. I wonder what about Baltimore and Oakland he would specifically point out. That I'm just curious. I'm just curious. Like, what about those cities? Like, what tendencies about those cities might be prompting his attention? Look, this is going to be the playbook moving forward. Okay, martial law has not been officially declared. Right? We do not have the military arresting people, but the administration is looking to strong arm the blue states and the blue cities in them by using any possible excuse to deploy the military there. They're just waiting for enough social pressure to build that they feel like they can declare martial law. They didn't do it in Los Angeles. Things petered out to nothing. Right now, things are petering out to nothing in D.C. because you have National Guardsmen there, and the D.C. Metropolitan Police are there under Pam Bondi's control. But what are they going to do, you know? Like, they're not gonna, Pam Bondi's not gonna, like, look over every one of their shoulders and go, yeah, no, go do fascism against that guy. You know, it's symbolic. It's operational control, but not in a way that matters. And likewise, the National Guardsmen are probably just gonna stand around playing, you know, with their dicks or Castle Crash or whatever they're not gonna be doing anything. But eventually, after enough, they're going to keep doing this, and they're going to keep escalating and exacerbating the social tension, and eventually something is going to happen. Somebody's going to draw on a National Guardsman during a protest. Something's going to happen, and that's going to be the big pretext. That's going to be the, well, we have been, you know, earnestly and steadfastly trying to quell the rampant crime in these blue cities, and now we've lost a serviceman, and now we have no choice but to implement. That's what they're doing. Pretty rough, huh? Why does DC have such a high murder rate per inhabitant? Horrendously mismanaged city for a variety of reasons.
We're not going to let it happen. We're not going to lose our cities over this. And this will go further. We're starting very strongly with DC, and we're going to clean it up real quick, very quickly, as they say. Days ago, a former member of the Doge staff was savagely beaten by a band of roving thugs after defending a young woman from an attempted carjacking. He was left dripping in blood. He thought he was dead with a broken nose and concussion. Can't believe that he's alive. He can't believe it. In June, a 21-year-old congressional intern was tragically killed after being hit by a stray bullet in a drive-by shooting.
Oh, is this the
a former Trump administration official named Mike Gill, fantastic person, was murdered last year in cold blood in a carjacking blocks away from the White House. We all knew him. Great person. Waiting for his wife as she was walking to the car. A Democrat congressman was also carjacked at gunpoint not far from the Capitol. And in 2023, an aide to Senator Rand Paul was stabbed in the chest and head by a demented lunatic as he walked down the street, just absolutely for no reason. Horrifically, last July 4th weekend, a 3-year-old girl was shot in the head and killed while sitting in a car near the Capitol.
So he's going to ignore Republican-ran states like Missouri? Kansas City and St. Louis have been in the top 5 worst cities for decades now. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, this has nothing actually to do with crime. There are entire Republican states with higher per capita murder rates than New York City or Chicago. Yeah, no, it's entirely just he is deliberately sending National Guardsmen to areas that maximize the likelihood of counter-protests in the hopes that eventually something happens that gives him the pretext that he needs to actually start to crack down. Unfortunately, the strategy is likely to work because we are getting no oppositional force, no pushback from the Democrats whatsoever, no real pushback. In fact, if my cursory glance over the news scroll before starting stream is accurate, Mayor Muriel Bowser of DC is a gigantic pussy who basically ceded that Trump has the legal authority to deploy the military to DC and take over the DC Metropolitan Police Department. Of course, DC is a special area, right? It is uniquely under the control of the federal government. The question isn't really whether or not Trump has the legal right to do so, but whether or not it's, you know, insane fascist shit. But
We don't have senators or full autonomy. Limited home rule gives the federal government the ability to intrude on our autonomy in many ways. I've said before, and I'll repeat, that I believe that the president's view of D.C. is shaped by his COVID-era experience during his first term. And it is true that those were more challenging times related to some issues. It is also true that we experienced a crime spike post-COVID, but we worked quickly to put laws in place and tactics that got violent offenders off our streets and gave our police officers more tools, which is why we have seen a huge decrease in crime because of those efforts. We have been able to reverse that 2023 crime spike. This year, crime isn't just down from 20.
Why is she talking to me like I'm 5 years old? Man, I don't know. I don't know why Democrats are always like this. I don't know why it's like this every time.
2023. It's also down from 2019, before the pandemic, and we're at a 30-year violent crime low. We're not satisfied. We haven't taken our foot off the gas, and we continue to look for ways to
She's talking to Trump. That's why she's talking to an idiot. She shouldn't be talking to Trump. She should be talking to the nation. And she should not be capitulating to the president by acknowledging the framing of his argument. The idea being, no, Mr. President, don't you understand? Like, we've made significant improvements. Like, you're immediately capitulating. Like, unironically, it would be like Nazi takeover shit over your town, or like invasion of Poland, and the mayor of Warsaw is earnestly talking about the decreases in Jewish crime that he's overseen or something. Like an insane capitulation. This has nothing to do with crime, so you shouldn't talk about crime. Is she a Democrat? Yes, DC is the most Democrat voting city in the country.
Make our city safer. We know, however, as most have heard from the president's press conference, that he has prerogatives in D.C. unlike anywhere else in the country, including his authority given by our home rule charter to require the mayor, to require me, to supply services of the Metropolitan Police Department. And he also has control and the ability to deploy the National Guard. But let me be clear, as our home rule charter is also clear, and the president's executive order restates. Chief Pamela Smith is the chief of the Metropolitan Police Department, and its 3,100 members work under her direction. The Home Rule Charter requires the mayor to provide the services of MPD during special conditions of an emergency.
I always think it's important to look at stuff like this because, like, if we all survive long enough to see stuff like this get talked about in a historical context, people are going to wonder, like, why did no one stop the incredibly incompetent presidential administration that did this? Like, the people who took America down, who broke the democracy completely, were stupid, self-interested, obvious, like unsubtle in their maneuvers, and made mistakes constantly. What kind of opposition could have allowed this to happen? So I think it's impossible to look at, it's important to look at stuff like this and go, oh, okay, that's why it went down like this. Like, just unimaginable weakness, time after time, from people who never understood how to meet the moment. Never, ever, ever. They never understood. They always played the game they were told to play by the people who hated them and wanted them dead.
And we will follow the law. Though there's a question about the subjectivity of that declaration. In fact, the chief has already provided a high-level liaison and point of contact with the federal government and made those initial contacts. The executive order is also clear that the president has delegated his authority to make requests of us to Attorney General Pam Bondi. I have reached out to Attorney General Bondi and hope to schedule a meeting soon.
And it's not just any mayor, too. This is the Democratic mayor of the most Democratic city in America. The people of D.C., the residents, of course, not just the politicians, despise Trump demographically more than the people of any other city in the country. Like, this district is the most anti-Trump, and this is how their mayor talks, like a text-to-speech algorithm reading over a neutral description of what is happening.
My message to residents is this. We know that access to our democracy is tenuous. That is why you have heard me and many Washingtonians before me advocate for full statehood for the District of Columbia. We are American citizens. Our families go to war. We pay taxes and we uphold the responsibilities of citizenship. And while this action today is unsettling and unprecedented, I can't say that given some of the rhetoric of the past that we're totally surprised. I can say to DC residents that we will continue to operate our government in a way that makes you proud. We will balance our budgets. We will deploy our services. Our kids are going to start school on August 25th.
Like, look at this. It's just another day in the life, huh? Just another day in the life. Unbelievable. She does talk like a principal, which is kind of fitting because I think it's reflective of the way the Democrats think of their constituents, right? Republicans fear their constituents and do everything they can to adjust the media message to maximize the energy of their constituents. Democrats think of their constituents as like idiot fodder whose job it is to elect them 40 times in a row over and over and over and over again. They hate their constituents. They patronize and talk down to them constantly.
It's becoming a situation of
Jesus, that audio.
and those people are the ones that want to help you. This city will no longer be a sanctuary for illegal alien criminals. We will have full.
The president noted at the border. We've got 10,000 troops down there who've been operating in defense cooperation areas, defense zones, where there's zero illegal crossings because of troops on strikers scanning the border. We've been protecting other people's borders for 20 years. It's about time we protect our own, and we're working with ICE and CBP. In Los Angeles, we did the same thing, working with the California National Guard, working with ICE officers. ICE officers deserve to do their job and not be attacked. We will work alongside all D.C. police and federal law enforcement to ensure this city is safe, this city is beautiful. And as I always say about President Trump to the troops, he has their back. And my message to the National Guard and federal law enforcement in Washington is we have your back as well. Be tough, be strong. We're right behind you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Pam, you run the police now.
As you heard me say, she's really in charge of a lot of what we're talking about. She's done an incredible job. And people are going to start to see the fruits of her labor. And Pam, maybe you could say a few words about what we're talking about here.
Sure, President. Let me be crystal clear. Crime in D.C. is ending and ending today. We are going to use every power we have to fight criminals here. President, thank you for caring about our capital. Families come here every summer. Our museums are free. We have the National Zoo. We have the National Gallery. D.C. should be a place where everyone can come and feel safe. Behind me and to my side, we have some of the best career law enforcement and prosecutors in the country who are ready to take this on. As the president said, Terry Cole is going to be supervising the Metro Police Department. Gaddy Serralta, our U.S. Marshal, is going to be supervising command and control, the entire operation. Our Deputy Attorney General, Todd Blanche, and I will be working with them closely, along with our great FBI Director, Kash Patel. Kash is going to talk to you in a minute about what we did in Virginia recently with Governor Youngkin. Many of you covered that, and it was tremendously successful. Not only that, our secret weapon here in D.C. is U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro. one of the toughest prosecutors and a former judge, and she is going to be talking about juvenile crime, how it's out of control here, and what she's going to do to fight back. No more crime rampant in our beautiful capital. No more teenage girls beating a disabled man to death. No more of that. No more drive-bys.
Thanks to Governor Youngkin's partnership. And that simplicity in law enforcement is what's coming to Washington, D.C. When you let good cops be cops, when you give them the intel they need, when you
Is crime in DC even as bad as they say, or are they making that up? DC has a relatively high crime rate because it's a very mismanaged city and has a lot of issues with poverty and income inequality. But violent crime genuinely is like very down in DC. Like it's been plummeting because of all the iPhones or whatever.
Work with our Homeland Security Task Force. When you work with Terry and Gaddy and I go way back to Miami, these guys are great leaders of the respective departments and law enforcement capacities. And when you have the DOJ and President
in the room like this, which tells me that you want to talk about, I mean, this was a D.C. news conference. It tells me that you want to talk about crime in D.C. and beautification of D.C., but I'm going to put that's easy. And I think, frankly, fixing the crime with the pros, fixing the crime is easy, too. A person who I've known for a long time, and she's been incredible. She was a fantastic that I think we've largely ended. And a lot of those, and if they don't...
Yeah, I assume he spends the rest of this time in the weave. Yeah, anyway, that's pretty much what we got. That's the framework. That's what they're going to do. They're going to do this in New York. They're going to do this in Chicago. They're going to do this in Oakland. They're going to get away with doing this as much as they can, as aggressively as they can. And they are going to wait for someone to throw a big rock at one of those National Guardsmen. And after that, the real crackdown will begin. This is what it looks like on the ground. No, this is from yesterday. Look at these fat DEA. Waddling down the goddamn National Mall walk.
And care for the most vulnerable among us. And oh God, grant true.
This targeting of homeless folks who in DC are over 85% black is intentional. Yes. He traffics in racist lies and stereotypes to peddle policies that will disproportionately harm black and brown folks. Yes. He wants to divide us, to stop our solidarity. We cannot let him.
I actually don't even think it's about breaking racial solidarity. I think it's about furthering the city-rural divide. I think that, like, or maybe not even city, but like city core versus suburban/rural divide. Like the Trump administration basically has free reign to attack inner cities as much as it wants, no matter how many millions of people are implicated by that. Because the average suburbanite really does think that downtown is like a hideous haven of crime, no matter what the data says. You know, Democrats really failed us by being so conciliatory to the police. Damn, who could have guessed that law and order, like anti-crime rhetoric, would always be more effective when employed in the service of fascists than you know, pro-democracy people? Who could have possibly predicted that, apart from anyone who knows anything about anything? Yeah, I guess we'll see how well this plays out. I hope people aren't too, like...
Data and reports from many credible organizations show patterns. Black people are more likely to be stopped, searched, questioned, arrested, and harmed in encounters with the law. When we add the presence of federal agents or the National Guard to daily life in these neighborhoods, the burden can multiply. Not by making harm more rare, but making it more visible and more likely to escalate. So be clear, this has been going on. But as you bring more policemen, it's going to escalate. Black Washingtonians have long recognized that community violence cannot be solved through state violence and have asked for meaningful investments and solutions that are proven to work. Racist over-policing goes beyond D.C. as the roots of American policing in many regions...
Pardon me for being contrarian. The reason why I don't really like the racial angle on this isn't because it's incorrect. It is correct. It's just that from an oppositional standpoint, like the best attack against the Trump administration doesn't really have anything to do with racial consciousness. You know what I mean? Like we're dealing with an across the board, like parallel attack on democracy itself. We're talking about like military deployments to cities. It's not really about racism. Like, racism is a tool that's being played on. It's ultimately about like the total revocation of our civil rights, of our democracy. It's not to say the racial element is incorrect. It is correct. I hope it doesn't get patterned down by that liberal identity politic obsession, you know, the idea that this is fundamentally about black and brown people, when like it's about America collapsing, right? Whatever angle is used, trans people, black people, ultimately are just vehicles for a broader anti-democratic position. And I've said, I'm being consistent about this because I've said the same thing about trans people, right? Like, the attacks on trans people are not for their own sake, right? The designation of a group as degenerate and undesirable isn't done like on its own for no reason. It's done to facilitate a broader set of social policies that implicate everyone. You know, at the end of the day, everyone is attacked when the Trump administration goes after trans people, much in the same way that everyone is attacked when the Trump administration says they want to send the military into Oakland or Baltimore, you know, even though we know what they're doing. How about black trans people? Well, we don't care about them. That's just crazy, honestly. Pick a struggle. We'll see if there's any kind of legal pushback to this, but keep in mind that, like, in spite of months having passed, we still don't have any kind of legal resolution to the legality of the National Guardsmen being deployed to Los Angeles, even though they were deployed under the pretext of a national emergency, which was obviously fake. This came out today.
Now on Midday Live, a San Francisco federal judge is hearing arguments right now on the president's much criticized decision to deploy National Guard troops to Los Angeles. Good morning. Thanks for joining us. I'm Kristen Z.
And I'm
Yeah, I don't know how this is going to play out. We've given so much deference to the presidency when it comes to their ability to declare any kind of emergency, you know? Like, there's so much power is given to the president in this respect. Like, we start entire wars now on police actions that are done, you know, with great need. Allows you to bypass Congress. Our courts are biased and corrupt and so slow. We'll see how it goes. Looking pretty bad right now, though. It honestly seems like the sky is the limit. It's basically just a matter of how bold the Trump administration wants to be. It seems to me like the Trump administration could just, right now, today, declare martial law and send the military over to every polling booth in the nation to deconstruct it, say that like illegals went in and tampered it or something, and nobody would stop them, you know? It seems like all of the waiting and delaying seems to be cautiousness on the part of the Trump administration, which is unwarranted given the level of pushback they've received. Like, the field's open for them.